My name is Godzly, and in today's video, I will be ranking every EX card in the game. If you guys enjoy, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for daily content, and let's get right into it. All right, so this is going to be a EX Pokemon tier list. I'm just going to go through this in order. The first Pokemon we have here is Charizard EX. Charizard, I have to put it in A tier right away. Charizard can single-handedly carry a full deck. You can run Charizard with Arcanine, but Charizard is fantastic, does 200 damage for only 4 energy. That's the highest EX attack we have in the game. It's also fairly tanky. It is a stage 2, which makes it, a little bit inconsistent, but it's a very solid card, and it's a win condition by itself. Next up, we have Articuno EX. Articuno EX is amazing too. It's mainly just thrown in with Starmie nowadays. I don't think Gyarados actually runs Articuno anymore, but Articuno pairs with Starmie. It's also a basic Pokemon, meaning you can search it with Pokeball. It also is going to start in your hand, and it's just really consistent. You can do 40 damage right away, and if you get lucky with Misty, you can win the game on turn 1 with Blizzard. So Articuno, fantastic, really works well in most water decks. Next up, we have Moltres. I know where I want to put this immediately. I'm going to put it in A tier. Moltres enables almost every fire deck in the game. It's fantastic with Inferno, Dance. You can just generate an insane amount of value from that 1 energy cost. It's also a basic, which means it's very consistent too. You run it with Arcanine, you run it with Charizard, you run it sometimes with Blaine Rush. It's just a fantastic card. I mean, I guess every typing couldn't have this, or else some of them would be too good. But all right, next up we have Arcanine, another fire card. Arcanine's good. I don't know if it's as good as Articuno because it's not a basic Pokemon. It does do more damage. It injured itself though. It has a little bit more HP too, but I think Arcanine is just a really good splash card in fire decks. Like, you can throw it in with Volcarona, you can throw it in with Charizard. It's just going to make the fire decks better, but I just don't think it's quite as good as Articuno because it's not as consistent. And you can also play it with Moltres, which is good, but just because of that consistency, I think I want to put it on C tier because Arcanine decks by themselves aren't quite as good. Articuno, for example, has a version of itself where you just run 2 Articunos, Misties, Pokeballs, and that's all. That's it. That's literally the whole entire deck, and it actually works. Next up, we have Starmie. Starmie used to be an absolute menace. I mean, it still kind of is. I hate Starmie decks still with a burning passion, but Starmie is good because it's a single evolution. It works with Misty. It has pretty decent HP. It has good attack, 2 energy for 90 damage, so it's like kind of like Pikachu, but worse because you have to evolve into it. Starmie also is just able to, you're able to throw it in most water decks, and it's just going to make them better. So I think I want to put Starmie EX up here in B tier also. Next up, we have Eggutor EX. Now, this might be a little bit controversial, but I think this is the very top of B tier, and let me explain why. So Eggutor is going to make every grass deck better in the game. It's amazing. It makes your turn 1 not so bad because it's a single stage. It only costs 1 energy and has the ability to do 80 damage. So if you go first, you have this in your hand. Your next turn, you're able to evolve it, put an energy on it, and then just do 80 damage right away. That can single-handedly win you games. It also has 160 HP, which is super tanky for a single stage EX, and it works with Erica, so you're able to just constantly heal and build up your bench while Eggutor is out there. Eggutor has been really helping Celby decks recently, and it also helps Venusaur and any other grass typing in the game. So I think Eggutor, I have to put it at B tier. I think it's a little bit better than Articuno and Starmie. Next up, we have Blastoise EX. I gotta put this one down below Arcanine. I just don't think it's that good. It only does 100 damage for 3 energy, which is pretty good. I mean, it's the same as Gengar, and it has the ability to do 160 if you get 5 energy on it, but then you have to rely on Misty to get lucky. It's also a stage 2. I think this would be fantastic if you had some better ramping than Misty, because as you know, Charizard only really works because of Moltres, but we don't really have anything to get consistent energy like that in the game because Misty, you can search it with Pokeball. Sometimes it won't start in your hand. The great thing about Moltres is you can start with it in your hand, like good odds of doing that, and you can search it with Pokeball. So it makes Charizard more consistent, but honestly, Blastoise is just a less consistent version of Charizard, and it does less damage. I love Blastoise. I think it's such a cool Pokemon, and it can be in a deck by itself, but honestly, I think an Arcanine deck might be better than a Blastoise deck. Maybe not, though. Maybe I'm getting a little bit crazy by saying that. Blastoise might be a little bit better than the Arcanine, but Arcanine is a stage 1, so it's more consistent, and it can attack so much faster, but it's less tanky and it has less potential damage output. So the end, but Arcanine works with Moltres, which is just going to make it better, I think. Damn, bro. I don't know. Those are neck and neck. Anyways, we got Zapdos next. Zapdos is awesome. Zapdos Zapdos works perfectly with Pikachu, but I think it's only really that good is because it works with Pikachu. It stacks the bench with electric for Pikachu. Zapdos can do potentially, I think, how many coins is it? 4 coins. So it could do 200 damage for 3 energy, which is kind of insane, but they all are just coin flips and you're not really going to do that a lot. It's also really fast because it has 1 retreat cost and it's a basic Pokemon, meaning it's consistent. I do think Zapdos is good, but I really only see Zapdos being played in Pikachu because it stacks electric on the bench. And I think it's actually might be a little bit worse in Articuno because there's no energy ramping for Zapdos at all. It's just played in Pikachu as your other win condition. So I think I have to put it below Articuno actually. You really aren't going to find it in a deck outside of Pikachu. Next up, we have Venusaur. Venusaur, I think it's at the top of C tier. People thought Superior was going to make Venusaur better, but actually Exeggutor is what's being played with it right now. Venusaur is decent, you know, it has good HP. It is a stage 2, which is kind of a problem. There is no energy ramping in this deck either, so it takes you a while to get into it, but if you do get into it, you just win the game, unless they have like Charizard EX, because it has so much HP, you can heal a lot with it, and you can deal 100 damage per turn while healing, so it is pretty solid, and I do think it's a little bit better than Blastoise and Arcanine. Next up, we have Pikachu. Pikachu is a fantastic EX Pokemon. I gotta put, this is the first one I'm gonna put in S tier. It's amazing. I mean, even if its deck isn't considered S tier, like it might be right below S tier, its deck, Pikachu is just so good by itself. It's the whole entire reason the electric archetype is even amazing, because basic Pokemon, you can search a Pokeball, starts in your hand, you don't need to evolve into it. 2 energy and you can be doing up to 90 damage. The downside is if you don't have electric on your bench, you're kind of cooked, but if you start with Pikachu and have a somewhat decent hand, you're just going to win the game. And especially if you're going second, you almost have a guaranteed win. Pikachu is absolutely amazing. Fantastic card. Only 1 retreat cost 2 on it. Electric does have good support, but it doesn't have like a Misty. It also doesn't have a Moltres, but without that, Pikachu is still so good. Next up is Gengar EX. I love Gengar, but I gotta put it in D tier. Not very good. 3 energy for only 100 damage, and it's a stage 2. Plus, it has the lowest HP out of any stage 2 EX Pokemon. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It has lower HP than Venusaur, lower HP than Blastoise, lower HP than Charizard too, and only 100 damage. It's not good. Sadly, Gengar, still pretty bad. Hopefully, we get an updated version of it. Next up, we have Mewtwo, and you know instantly where this goes. Tier 1. This might be the best EX Pokemon in the game. It's ridiculous. It's a basic Pokemon. It also works with Gardevoir. Gardevoir is fantastic for energy ramping. It can do 150 damage for 4 energy, but if you have Gardevoir, that's even quicker. Plus, it's super tanky and just ultra consistent. I probably don't need to explain to you why Mewtwo is just so good. Next up, we have Machamp. Machamp, oh man. Machamp honestly is just a worse golem. It really just is. I think I gotta put it above. Oh man, it's stage 2. It has the same HP as Blastoise, but it's a little bit cheaper to attack for 120 damage, but it doesn't work with Misty. But the good thing is all its evolutions can attack immediately. Like the ramping on its evolution stages, Machop and Machoke, is really good. And I think fighting types have like pretty decent support right now with Arrow, and they have Marshadow too. I think, God, the Blastoise hate is gonna get me in trouble. I'm so sorry, guys. I love Blastoise, but I really think Machamp is better. Don't yell at me for this, please. All right, Marowak is next. Marowak is actually a solid card if you're lucky, but the only problem is if you're unlucky, you can do 0 damage. Now, it can do 160 for 2 energy, which is kind of insane, but its HP is really, really, really low, and we just have way better fighting options in the game right now. I think I have to put Marowak all the way down at the bottom of C tier. It's just not very good. I mean, it's pretty fast, but there's just so many better fighting options, and it can be destroyed just by your opponent's basic Pokemon. So they can remove Marowak immediately, and then you're just cooked. I even think Machamp is probably performing better than Marowak is in tournaments right now. I think Blastoise even is performing better, so I got to put Marowak down at the bottom of C. Next up, we have Wiggly Tough. Wiggly Tough is an awesome card. It can put them to sleep. It does 3 energy. It's colorless. You can splash it in any deck, and because you can splash it in any deck, it makes it like, you know, just a fun, like an overall strong EX card because it works with so many different things. And it is a stage 1, so it's fairly quick to get into. If you get lucky with sleep, you're going to be able to 2-shot most EXs in the game. But I still think that just barely makes it better than Marowak because it's not a win condition by itself, especially if they just wake up and then you just wasted 3 energy and your Wigglytuff gets one-shotted. So I got to put it above Marowak, but I don't think it's better than the rest of these. All right, next up is Lapras EX. I have not seen this card be used in forever. The only reason I think this is even slightly relevant is because it works with Misty. It's also a basic Pokemon, which means you can search it. 3 energy just to do 80 damage is not very good. It only heals itself for 20. Plus, Plus it only has 140 HP, so it gets one-shotted by Mewtwo, Charizard, and 3 heads on Zapdos. So I just don't think this is super great. I think Lapras is actually worse than Marowak. I would rather use Marowak attack for 2 energy, because they can get 2 attacks in by the time you would use 1 Bubble Drain. All right, next up is Celby EX. Celby, the card by itself is just a really cool effect, and it works really well with Superior, and everyone seems really obsessed with this card, you know. I do think it's like tier 2 or tier 3 a Celebi deck. It's definitely worse than Charizard, and you just need the Superior line for it to be that good, you know, just to get those extra coin flips. And it's very RNG heavy too. Honestly, it only recently got a lot better because people started running Eggutor with it alongside it, but I do think I have to put it up in A tier still. Celebi kind of haunts my nightmares, but I'm gonna put it like right above Moltres because it is a win condition, which is nice. You do have to pair it with something else, but Moltres is not a win condition by itself, and you have to pair it with Charizard. So I'm going to put it right below Charizard. I think that's a fair spot for it to be. Next up, we have Gyarados EX. This guy is ridiculous. I have to actually put this right above Pikachu. He has 180 HP. It's insanely tanky. It works super well with Misty too. It's also a stage 1, so you can get into it very quickly. It knows Rampaging Whirlpool for 140 damage. You can also pair it alongside Greninja, and you can have Gyarados kind of sit out there and tank while Greninja shoots from the back line, just because Gyarados is so beefy. So this has been taking over. Definitely think Gyarados is a tier 1 EX card, and it's a tier 1 deck right now. Next up, we have Mew EX. Now, Mew is being used in Mewtwo decks, which makes it kind of tier 1. But the reason I'm really putting it in here is because it works so well in everything. I throw this in almost every rogue deck nowadays. I throw it in because it perfectly counters Mewtwo. If you have Mew built up on the bench, they're not going to send out Mewtwo because you can just copy their side drive attack and one-shot it. Same with Charizard. They don't want to send out Charizard. They don't want to use Crimson Storm. Celebi also, you can counter Powerful Bloom a little bit and maybe get lucky on your coin flips. Same with Zapdos. You can just steal Thundering Hurricane for only 3 energy, which is fantastic. It's just an awesome card to splash in any deck. And because of that, I actually want to put it, I think I want to put it like right above Gyarados, actually, just because it's so versatile. It's so insanely versatile. It's an awesome card. Plus it has Expedition too, which pairs with it somewhat well. You can use it as a tank and then kind of Koga it out. Next up, we have Aerodactyl. I think Aerodactyl is a really fun card because its first evolution is Amber, and Amber doesn't make your deck any more bricky because it's not considered a Pokemon. It can spawn your hand, but it's typically not going to, because every game you're guaranteed to start with a basic Pokemon, and Amber's not considered a basic. So Aerodactyl has made fighting decks way better because you can do 80 damage for only 2 energy, which is awesome, of course, and it knows Primeval Law, which stops people from evolving in the active zone, which can get a little bit annoying. But mainly I think people are just running it because it's cheap to attack, and it doesn't make your deck any less consistent. It has definitely buffed fighting decks as a whole, so that's why I think I want to put it right under Articuno. Next up, we have Pidgeot EX. This is a stage 2 Pokemon. For 3 energy, you can do 80 damage and up to 140 damage, which is pretty solid for 3 energy. I think that's actually a little bit better than Blastoise, and now we have Pokemon Flute in the game too, which is fantastic. Plus, Pidgeot is colorless, which is also great, so that means you can combine this with so many different things. You can put it with an Arbok, you can put it with Weezing, you can combine it with Druddigon and have Druddigon even attack. It's a really fun card to splash in a bunch of different things, and I think it's slightly better than Machamp. It has 10 less HP, but it can do up to 140 damage for only 3 energy. But if your opponent knows how to play against it, then you're in trouble because you only do 80. So actually, because it's counterable, now that I think about it, I think I might put Pidgeot even under Blastoise, just because if you're playing a good opponent, especially in tournaments, who knows how to play, as soon as they see your Pidgey, if they haven't placed anything on their bench, they're not going to, and they're just going to end up sweeping you with like the 2 Pokemon that they have active, and then your 3 energy only deals 100 damage. So honestly, Pidgeot, it's a cool card, but I think it might be a little bit worse than these 4. We haven't really seen that much tournament results with Pidgeot either. So this is my tier list. I would say this is pretty fair. If you guys disagree with my reasoning, let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hit the like button and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next time.